Yeah, so let's close here by talking about testing smaller items in
Yes.
Google Ads with experiments or smaller ideas. Um, Let me go through each one, and you can kind of give me a response of if you like setting up an experiment, and then
Okay.
kind of why you is this a valid thing to test, or have you tested this in the past, or would you like doing an experiment to test it? So the first one that came to mind are calls bid adjustment. This is under mm, we had a debate about what it should be called, what it's called. Forget
Yeah.
what it's called right now, but there's a different area in your sidebar. I'll just pull it up here, Chris, for accuracy, called advanced bid adjustments, and then one of the interaction types there, the only one, Chris, is called calls, and you can basically increase your bids when they're willing to show your call extension and try to get the call extension to show more, get more calls. Chris, I like to be aggressive with this sometimes and increase it by 50, 100% sometimes. Do you think that needs an experiment, or what do you think about that?
I'm gonna call this the lightning round, and I'm gonna give it a thumbs down. No, I wouldn't do an experiment on that
You would just
because
turn it on
it's
and see if you got more call extension calls.
yeah. I would make a
And if
note
your
in the
conversion
account.
rate went up or more conversions, yeah.
Yeah, and most of the time, if you look, the amount of times that this influences the bid is actually minimal. It's not always the case,
Not minimal, but it's definitely not always,
Yeah, it's definitely so.
Yeah.
I would say no. I would say no because it's easily reversible and it's only one thing that you're changing. Bids are not one thing. Changing your bidding strategy is not one thing. Changing to broad match keywords is not one thing. Changing your landing page is not one thing. This is one thing. Don't think it's worth the experiment.
The only time I would think it could be called for with an experiment is if you're doing an extreme adjustment, like plus 300%, or
gosh.
just slow down. Yeah. Just
That's-
something really,
that's
intense.
heavy.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've never done that I've never done 300%.
Okay. Let's say you've got search partners off right now and you want to run your campaign with search partners on, and you don't know how much traffic is going to go to that. It could be the normal we've seen over the years, 3 to 10% of your traffic going to search partners, or it could be something crazy like we've seen recently, sometimes where 50, 90% of your traffic goes to search partners, especially if you're not bidding enough to show up often on Google search. Running an experiment where all you do is click search partners back on. What do you think?
I wouldn't run an experiment.
You would just take the risk.
I just turn it on.
A lot of your traffic going to search partners more than you're comfortable with, and just segment out the data day by day and make sure you're on top of it. Okay.
I'd make a note and then I'd segment it, after a certain amount of time to see if it's, but we should talk about search partners in a upcoming episode. I have a tone change that on search partners of some things I've seen that's kind of changed my mind. So that's a different topic though, but I would not do an experiment.
Whether the tone is positive, negative, but that's not good podcasting. I'm gonna live the tease with the audience here and experience the tease. And I guess we'll talk about it. You want to talk about it next week? Got some
stories to share. So yeah.
You want to talk about it next week?
Maybe.
Oh, Chris, you gotta stop right now. We are fully teased right now. So what about turning the display network on at the settings? And this is like when it's a regular search campaign, but then when a website or a user that Google thinks is similar to your search audience sees your they can show your display. What do you think about that?
It's such a binary on-off kind of thing. I just go ahead and turn it on. No experiment.
What about new languages, going from English to all languages?
Ooh,
because this is something we can't get data on, at least that we know about in 2022. Like we can't
no segmentation.
How much came in from Spanish, from Russian, whatever. Yep. There's no segmentation. And so I like an experiment on this, Chris, because it controls the date range for you. It controls how much you allocate percentage-wise, and at least it separates things, and you don't have to remember, like, on this date, I added the languages, and then what is the data now versus the previous date range. It just gives you that data. And the other thing that I like is it kind of focuses your mind, and you go, you know what, for 2 weeks or a month or whatever, we're not making any changes. We just want to isolate for this and see how the campaign runs when all languages are on, just to see if there was any different and if we can tease it out. And I feel like taking the formality to the formal steps to run an experiment can kind of help influence or help give you that discipline to either not make changes on the experiment campaign or both. But I like that idea just because we can't really do it any other way.
I'm absolutely with you on that one. New languages, experiment for sure, because it's not.
I like it.
Not reportable. Not reportable.
Okay, and another one here on the settings page. What about the most targeted or the most isolated advanced location option, people in or regularly in your location? You have that set up, and then you layer, and then you change that to people in or searching about or interested in, whatever it is, interested in your location, and opening it up. Do you think that's valid to see the data on in an experiment way? Wow.
Absolutely. Again, because there's no reporting. Now, skip back a couple years to back whenever Google actually showed us people in versus other, and they actually showed that data. They no longer show that data. So yeah, absolutely. So I guess what it comes down to, what you've isolated here is if it's a single binary change, and we have reporting on it, you may not need it. If segmenting of some kind, if we can get data on it specifically on that one change, then it may not be worth an experiment. But if it is something that cannot be isolated and reported and segmented, then experiment seems like a great solution. Very, very well noted there. You were doing a very subtle thing. I like that. Good question.
Yeah. I was a little worried because I was like, maybe none of these little small ideas are worth doing an experiment on. But then, then you like that one. Wow.
Yeah. Good point. Wow. I never thought about it that way, but that's a good point.
And I mean, one final thing, I just went into a campaign today, and I had set up site links on, we did a bunch of new campaigns, and I set site links up on only one campaign. I thought they were at the account level. Turns out they were only on one campaign. So I added them to all, to the account level, so they hit all campaigns. But it had me thinking, like, we always wonder, like, how much do these extensions matter? Or sometimes people think like, no, I want someone to read my ad copy. I want them to go to that specific page. I know when someone clicks on my homepage, we invested in it. We've got tracking. We've got all that stuff. I want them to go there. The conversion rates are high. My service pages suck. They're set up like blog pages still. They don't have lead forms. I know it's not going to convert. So I don't want to run those site links. I hear that from clients sometimes when they're in that situation. But then I'm like, well, it's going to hurt us on quality score, and we're probably not going to be able to show up as high or as often. And if you ever want to test out how much ad extensions matter or how much they change things, isolating it with an experiment would kind of be an interesting thing to do. That just came to mind as well.